Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be housing this instrument that we did yesterday. So in this, I have a couple different ideas that we're going to end up trying to do here. And that is putting it in this. So this is actually made by Psychotic Art Studios, and you may remember him. I did some collaboration work with him a while ago. It's absolutely a very sinister looking shell here, but that's not all. We also have this. So this is a creepy little doll that I actually got from my mom. She came across it in a auction site and ended up winning it. It's just a very, very tiny doll. I expected it to be bigger, but this doll is super creepy looking as is. Just it looks very old and stuff. And it's perfect for circuit bending. The head comes right off. I mean, it's sort of soft shelled. I don't know. It's workable for sure. So we're going to try to do some stuff with this as well. And hopefully we can mount some LEDs on the top. And I'm thinking that this is going to be a good size for this. So I think what we should do is we should go ahead and start housing everything out right off the get-go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut into the top right here using a razor blade. And you'll kind of see why here. I think I'm going to go sideways. Maybe right here. So I kind of want it to be at an angle a bit. All right. So this is actually going in here. I'm going to angle this up a bit because you can't see this very well. There you go. Hopefully that is a little bit better. But this is going to be going inside of the top here, I do believe, because I think that would be pretty cool. And then we'll feed some wires up through it. And then obviously put some acrylic around here and stuff. So yeah. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the back of this as well. And we're going to take some stuffing out. Now, if you've ever seen these dolls, once I kind of get done with them, essentially what I do here is I cut the back out and then I add in some zippers, which I can buy, like, if you have any Walmarts around you, which I'm sure you do, you can buy the zippers at Walmarts and just literally sew them in. That way people can actually replace the batteries if you are ever to sell it. And obviously you yourself wouldn't want there to be a situation where your batteries run out and then you have to recut open everything that you've done. So it's just a lot easier just to sew in. Since you're going to be sewing anyway, just sew in a zipper from Walmart's, which is pretty easy to get. They're only like a couple bucks. Then you'll be good to go. So yeah, there we go. So now we've got a good amount of stuff right there. We're going to pull some stuffing out here. It's going to make it easier to actually feed the wires through. So if you're just joining in, we are housing this instrument that we did yesterday inside of this bear that's made by Psychotic Art Studios. So it's going to be a collaboration project. And also, I do want to show you again something from yesterday. So all this season, the Slightly Sinister season, we're going to have these shirts available. Now these shirts are only going to be available during this season. So after the season, you'll no longer be able to get these shirts. We only have the design being made for this season. I just got stuff all over it, but it's really, really nice. We have GhostFire Electronics written down here in cursive. I think it's a really cool design. I absolutely love it. So we have the black one available, and then we have this one available. And these are going to range in color as far as all of this stuff, because this is actually added by me. I'm taking closed dye and I'm actually putting all this stuff on myself. So it is going to range, so don't expect it to look exactly like this. The only consistents are going to be this logo and then this writing right here, which is green, GhostFire Electronics, like the other one, but a lot more colorful. Then I do front and back, which these are optional. If you just want a plain white one, just let me know and I can actually give you a discount on that as well, because then I don't have to pay for the dye. But I thought the colorful look was pretty freaking awesome. So if you're interested in that, just hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Maybe just leave a comment. I actually look at my comments quite a bit. Or you can also hit me up on Parler. So just let me know any of those, and I'll get it out to you. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and shape out, because I think we're good right here. So I'm going to go ahead and shape out this stall to actually hold circuitry. This is going to be kind of a weird one, because if you look at it, this doll has a really, really soft head, and then the body's not as soft as the doll. So I don't know if that's going to be a blessing or a curse right here. So we're just going to drill in and see what we can do exactly. So if you're ever wondering why I never use this step up to actually make any pilot holes, it's because the step up is super, super dull. It's been through metal a couple times. So it's a very, very dull thing. And, sorry, I'm just trying to think here. So it's very dull. So it's not able to actually go through any of that type of stuff. So when you start on it, it is absolutely horribly, takes forever to actually go into anything. So I'm going to have to cut this a bit. And the reason I'm cutting the trousers here is because we're going to drill into the legs, because we need an anchor point. Because if you just put this in here, what's going to happen is this is going to actually pull up, and you don't want that to happen, because then your wires are vulnerable. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually just cutting the trousers really quick. We're just going to cut around. You know what, that's probably good. Let's cut the back as well. We're going to be drilling a hole into the legs, and then that's going to allow us to actually feed some thread through. That way we can actually anchor the doll inside of the teddy bear. All right, now let's drill through the legs. All right, so there's one. There is two. I'm going to take a razor blade and actually just clean this up a bit. Well, if I can find a razor blade. If you missed yesterday, I put these stickers everywhere, but the issue with these stickers is I can't tell where I put anything. So like I set stuff down and then it just goes away. But I don't know. Maybe scissors we'll use. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of spacing all of this plastic out, because the last thing we kind of want is to actually put this in for an anchor, get one sewn in, and then the other one have a massive amount of plastic keeping the needle from going through. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of spacing it out so the plastic that is left over on the side is out of the way. We're going to do kind of the same thing here. Not for the same reasoning, just because we need to feed some stuff through here. All right. So that looks fine to me. Now the only thing we need to do is get this to the point where we can actually feed wires through, which obviously isn't going to happen. Well, I don't know. Let's check the light here. We might be able to do that. I think be a little bit safer. Okay, so we're gonna cut the bottom of this and actually feed all the wires through the bottom of the doll as opposed to through the knees. I was thinking about the knees, but I just think that, well, let's try that. I'll cut it open a bit and we'll see if we can fit stuff in there. Let me use some wire cutters too. I'm usually not super comfortable with sewing around wires. It's not for like electricity or anything. It's just because I'm afraid that I'm actually going to rupture the wires or sew it in tight enough so where the wires are going to give way over time. But I think for here we might be good because it is in plastic and it's more of like a softer plastic. So I think if we sew it in there, the plastic is going to actually give a little bit more flexibility there. Okay, so we have kind of a big hole right there. Probably needs to be bigger. This doll probably does not like us right now. All right, but there we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, well, first let's feed this in here, because that's going to be a lot easier to do. And then all as we're planning on feeding up is the LEDs into that doll. So I'm just going to shove this through here first. I don't like the pressure that this has. We probably should have pulled more stuffing out of here. We'll see how this goes. All right, from there, let's go ahead and feed this directly in there. Battery pack side up. De-stuff it again. All right, so I'm most definitely going to electrical tape these LEDs. This one's probably good. We're going to electrical tape both of them though, just because I'm more concerned about this LED hitting this one. Even if we electrical tape it, we're just going to duct tape them both. Just for some extra security, let's go ahead and feed this up a bit. We'll wrap it and then let it fall back down. So that should give us a little bit of extra security. This is going to be a super weird LED to mount. Well, it's not really an LED. It's a bulb from my soldering iron, since I'm getting a new soldering iron. we're using the bulb on that one. So I shouldn't really say an LED at all. All right, so those are good. And let's go ahead and try to feed it through the baby doll here. This may be a challenge. Yeah, we're gonna have to remove the foot. And I do want to leave like a tiny bit on the bottom here so we can actually feed through. This is not wanting to cooperate, is it? So if you see what I'm doing here, I'm actually leaving a hole in the back. That way we can actually anchor it through with some thread. But we do need it to be larger than that. And I was really hoping to actually feed it in here so where we could leave this patch. It has this little creepy patch in the front that I absolutely love. And I don't know if we're going to be able to leave it, but I'm really going to try. But I want that patch hanging out. Okay, so there's one through. Let's go ahead and flip this down. Hopefully, everybody keep their fingers crossed. There we go. All right, cool. And this other one shouldn't be too hard. All right, and we are good. So that is both of them right there. Then we can feed that down. It's going to look something like that. We just have to shape out this little doll head right here. I'm going to move you up even more than that. Okay, hopefully you guys can see a bit better. This is a little bit higher than I typically work. So on these really soft-shelled instruments, I really don't like drilling into them outside of a pilot hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a pilot hole into this, and then we're probably going to end up using a pair of let's see, a pair of wire cutters to shape this out. Typically I use a razor blade. And this is why. So if you look at how this responds to me actually drilling into it, it just does that. They twist up quite a bit. Yeah, so we're just going to go directly to cutting into this. So we're going to cut the eyes out first because that's a good reference point. If you can cut the eye out, then you can figure out where the rest of it really needs to go. So we're just going to do the same on this side. We're just going to cut the eye, flip the other way, and cut the eye. Now, out of curiosity, I'm going to see if this LED already fits in here. We can try it the other way. Okay, so one LED already fits. We might be able to fit. I think the plastic's soft enough that both of them could actually already fit in here. This is going to require a lot of hot glue. So that looks a little bit goofy. Kind of looks like that thing from Goonies. So I'm going to feed it back out, and then we are going to shape this up a bit more. believe, yeah, the right eye is pretty cool for the big bulb. Okay, so that's what we have. And hopefully both of them will fit quite well in here now. Okay, so I don't like how those are really sitting really close to each other. We're going to kind of space them out. Since this is a soft shelled, I guess a soft shelled toy, it's not really staying the LEDs where they need to be. What it's doing is it kind of allowing them to go on their own terms and kind of space out a bit. So I need to do something about that. Okay, I'm gonna try to grab a hold of this bulb, and I really hope we don't break this. Okay, that looks fine to me. So let's go ahead and kick this on and see, which I think I need batteries. So one thing I always do is I pull out the batteries on instruments when I get, well, not even when I get done finishing them. Anytime I'm not using them, I pull out the batteries, and that's going to prolong their life quite a bit. So I do have batteries in this one. So let's go ahead and kick it on, and we'll see how this looks.
Youch! Catch me softly!
So that looks pretty good to me. We do need to do a lot of hot gluing inside of this, which hopefully it doesn't deform the head. I really want to back this off of here. So one thing we do want to be aware of is bulbs do heat up, whereas LEDs don't. So this might cause some melting if this is sitting on the bulb. So we want to back it off of there quite a bit. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and keep the LEDs active. And I'm going to hot glue inside of here. All right, I'm going to let that sit for a minute.
Game over!
This almost looks like some type of like disco lighting. Quite nice. The really good part about this soft plastic type material is that when you hot glue inside of it, it almost morphs in a way. You can feel how it kind of thins it down, which means that when it actually hardens, the hot glue kind of becomes part of the plastic. Okay, so I'm just really going to load it up here with a bunch of hot glue. And then, yes, that's a lot of hot glue in there. And then we're just going to go ahead and, it's also burning quite a bit. If we can, I'm going to put this back on. I must need like some type of gloves. It looks like our bulb went in there again. Just pull it back out. So there's a lot of heat in this little doll right now because of the hot glue. So we really want to make sure our LEDs are good. All right, so that should be fine. We're just going to keep an eye on this for a minute. It's like some electrical tape got fed up through here. That's no fun. Oh well, when it dries, we can actually just take a razor blade over it. I do want to wait till it dries though. So you can see how this LED kind of looks like, I keep saying LED, this bulb kind of looks like it's facing to the right there. It is sort of facing to the right, but it's also this electrical tape. So it'll look a lot better once we get the electrical tape off there. But I think we're good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and just kind of set it over there. We are going to flip this off for the moment. So for this, I figured that we would use something pretty fitting. Pun not really intended, but now it's kind of intended. So a gummy bears thing. Now, what you want to be aware of when you use 10 instruments and stuff for any type of breakout box is it's very likely that the electricity will actually flow through the switches and stuff. So a lot of these are actually grounded, and what they'll do is they'll ground the entirety of whatever you put them in. So very often if you use 10 or anything like that, if you feed it through the back, you'll notice that once you get everything set up, it's not going to respond the way you thought it would respond. There's a couple different ways you can go about doing that. The way we are going to do today is we are going to put something that kind of breaks that. So this is just a little plastic drink thing. And then we're just going to put it on the inside here. So cut it out. And I'm just getting a good amount of it. Just so we can kind of put it in there. Throw it to the side there. Literally throw it to the side. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways you could actually do this as well. So I'm not super concerned if this gets too small. And you'll see why. I want it to fit well, but I'm not really worried if it ends up just way too small for us. I shouldn't say way too small. The majority of this is going to need to cover it. And even if you mess this up, I'll show you another way. Okay, so that's fine. You can kind of see right there. That is perfectly fine for us. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take electrical tape and we're just going to go around this. Now, theoretically, you could just take electrical tape and lay it right across here. I think this way is a bit quicker, but you really could just take electrical tape, just lay it all the way across there, and you would be perfectly fine. Just make sure your switches and stuff aren't actually hitting the tin can, and you're good. So there we go, put that down. This does not have to look good in any way because nobody will see this. I mean, you guys will see it, but if you're doing it or making a breakout box like this, don't worry so much about the aesthetics of it. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and do that one more time. Just kind of go back through here. Tape it up a little more. Then the cool part about this is when we start adding switches, the switches themselves are going to hold this plastic in as well. So it may look like it's kind of coming up off of it right now, but once we start adding switches, it'll kind of correct itself. One thing that's also really cool about this is deep enough that we could actually probably add a pro sound directly through. Pull this off here. Should be able to add the pro sound directly on the top and have it hit absolutely nothing. Streaming, so that was kind of weird. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, so I think we're good. That was very strange. So I don't know how far exactly I got into that, but we have this placed right here. And this is kind of large for this bear. So there's a couple different ways we could actually do this. I kind of want the chest area to still show. And I think what we're going to end up doing, if we can pull it off, it's going to be hard, but I think we could pull it off, is we're going to try to feed it through the hand so it looks like it's actually holding this. I think that would be super, super cool. It's going to be hard, but I think we could do it. Maybe the left hand. Yeah, probably the left hand. And the reason I'm picking that one is just because this hand is very detailed. I really like it. The left hand's detailed, but it's also detailed on the top, so I don't think it would be a huge sacrifice if we actually just took that out. Now, this is going to be kind of weird to do, because if it's holding it right here, how can we do this? We could totally just sew it in there. That would be perfectly fine. So check this out. What we're going to do here is we're going to cut. Let's cut a little bit lower than that. We may just use some wire cutters here. I know they're not really meant to cut through thread, but I think in this case it might be better. There we go. All right, from there, let's use a razor blade. Oh yeah, I found my razor blade, by the way. We're going to kind of do the same thing. We're going to sew this little lunchbox thing into the bear itself. Just very similar to what we did with the doll, except here we don't have to make any incisions on the lunchbox aside from where we put the wires. So that's not going to be enough right there. We're going to need more. I totally just put the razor blade down and forgot what I did with it again. Oh, there we go. See, it's right there and just really hard to see. So there we go. That should be plenty enough. And if we have to do a little extra sewing, that's okay too. All right, let's check it out. So it's going to need some stuffing work and stuff, but I think that looks pretty legit. And from there, we will go ahead and drill out the top of this. I think this opens both ways, doesn't it? Maybe not. Maybe it only opens one way. But we are going to need to drill out the top of this. So for the drilling of any tin or metal or anything like that, I pretty much never use my regular drill bits. I actually have a bunch of scrap drill bits that I use that are going to take a little bit longer to get through, but it's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot better for us. And one thing that is going to be a little bit annoying here is we might have to resolder our switches. We'll see. Pretty sure we do. Well, you know what? There's a... I'm curious if we could figure out how to open this backing to this tin. Let's try to do that, and then we could try to bolt it through. It's going to be a very strange thing to do, but I think we can, because it is kind of wiggling a bit. That would actually save us a lot of time, and it would make us where we wouldn't have to open the backing. Or I'm sorry, wouldn't have to remove all the wiring. Okay, so there's one. There's two. Still have like two more. Okay, there we go. All right, so we removed the backing, and all we need to do now is actually shape out the side right here. We're going to do probably about right here, I'd say. Just enough that the wires can feed in. That's literally all we need. Since we removed this backing, we don't have to actually worry about fitting anything through there aside from the wires, because the wires are going to need a place to actually feed through the teddy bear into the box, and that's going to be our place right there. So I'm going to push this out, try to get all of the stuffing out of his arm. All right, let's start feeding switches through. More and more stuffing just keeps coming out. It's quite amazing. We should be completely good right there to just go and stuff that back in there. We now have all of our stuff right here. Cool. All right. So we're going to be feeding the wires in right there. And open the front. Not 100% sure how we're going to put this back on yet. But we'll figure it out. For now, let's go and try to hot glue it and just see what happens. I'm sure this hot glue will come right off there, but we'll try it. And just be aware if you're ever working on tin or anything like this, and then you hot glue, just be aware this thing is going to heat up quite a bit. So it came right off there. So right now we're just holding it down. Let's go and check on our doll here. And that looks pretty. See if I can somehow one-handed cut that electrical tape off. Not so much. I'm thinking we're going to end up putting a bolt through that just for some extra security. It does seem to be holding though. There we go. That's nice looking. All right, there we go. Now the electrical tape's removed. A hard little head. All right. So this actually does seem to be holding. I wouldn't really rely on it too much, but it seems to be holding somewhat. So I think we're good for the moment. We just have to be very frugal with our wiring here because we don't have much of it. As you can see, I don't know if we're going to have to add extensions to anything, but we're going to try to avoid that. All right. So we have 3 switches, 1 button, and 1 pro sound. So let's go ahead and get to adding those. Like like I said earlier, I'm not using my normal drill bits, so these may take a minute to actually go through. Trying to figure out where exactly we're adding these. I think I know what we're doing here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and mount the 3 switches first, and then we will deal with the rest of it. So on this, I am going to use my step up. Go the other way here. You're going to laugh about the mounting position here. Okay, that's good. These guys are debatable. I'm trying to pull them through a bit more. Alright, so we should be able to make this work. The only thing I'm kind of concerned about is this should be on, right? When we turn this on, it didn't seem to come on at all. So that's slightly concerning. So I wonder what's going on there. So it seems like the switches were just kind of in weird positions. Oh yeah, you can totally see mounting position on here now. I think the mounting position is kind of funny. So I'm pretty sure this is in some type of weird glitch out mode, which I'm okay with. Those are totally for pops. So we're going to mount the switches and then we're going to make sure everything's working right. As you can see, it's just kind of glitching out in a weird way. But it's kind of annoying too, so we're going to turn it down. These switches sometimes. There we go. The switch is acting a bit goofy. Let me try to tighten it up a bit using these. I don't know. Hope we don't have to replace it, but we might. Okay, now this is beyond annoying. Let's go ahead and turn it off. Happy Sunday, people. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. That one went right on very easily. Alright, so that's on. Try to flip this on.
Catch me softly.
Alright, so we should be good right there. It's not looping out in any crazy ways again. Okay. That looks great. So I just gotta figure out this switch over here.
Game over.
Because this one's acting very strange, and it might be the spacer we have on this. Which, as you've seen, I didn't put the spacer on any of the other ones, so I'm not super enthused about the spacer anyway, so we're just going to remove it all together, and hopefully it goes back on correctly. We're gonna take that off, and then just in case, let's go ahead and replace that nut as well. That's even funnier because of where this toggle switch is placed. Okay, so that went on a lot easier. Alright, so that looks great. And I'm mixing all these up, but I'm going to set those over here. Cool. Alright. So now we have all three of these mounted on the inside here. And we should be good to go as far as switches go. We just have to mount these two. Which these two aren't going to be hard in any way. We're running a little bit short on space on that one, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mount it over here. And then this, we have a little more space to play with, so I think it would be best to mount that on that side. We're going to go ahead and use this drill bit, because that's going to give us a little bit of a cleaner go through. Let's try this real quick. Alright. And then it's horrible for the drill bit, but it went through quite a bit faster than the other one did. And it was larger as well. And that's kind of cool too, because it looks like he's almost holding it up. At least it will when we put the spacer on. Don't know where my Pro Sound hardware is. Nothing in there. There we go. Okay, so we should be good right there. Let's go and feed this back on. Looks like we totally hot glued that to where this piece is underneath there. which we are going to put a bolt through this. Going to give us a little more leverage. There we go. That was a little sketchy, but we got it. So now our box should be working well. Well, that's not good, is it?
Youch! Catch me softly!
Huh.
Tap, shake, or toss to play!
Well, I hope our light didn't burn out there.
Tap, squeeze! Youch! Catch me softly! Good. Good.
So I think our light may have burned out.
Tap, shake, or toss to play!
It's kind of looking a bit weird too. Like the filament came out of it. So that would super suck because we have already hot glued inside there and everything.
Hut, hut! Hi! Good. Ball. How do we play? Football. Hit. I said. Go and do this.
All right, so we're just going to test everything else out outside of that light. The last thing to test is the Pro sound.
Tap, shake, or toss to play. You'll have such a blast, you won't believe it. Time has passed. You'll want to play all day, so in the sun we'll stay. We'll meet so many hut. Football. How do we play? Football.
All right, so
Here's what I say.
this most
Time to start
definitely
a
burned
play.
out.
So hike is what you'll say. You can run or pass the ball. Just make sure it does not fall. To beat the competition,
So that's not good.
is the mission. Tap, shake, or toss to play.
So for that, I think we're just going to go ahead and kind of proceed on for the time being. Let's go ahead and feed some of the stuffing back in here. And we're going to have to wrap back around, and we're going to have to, since our wiring's perfectly fine in this, at least that's my guess. If you look really closely, you can kind of see how the bulb darkened quite a bit. So the reason for that is because it did burn out, which fair enough, because I mean, we're using a bulb for something we're circuit bending that's not supposed to be put in there, so it's okay. Not super concerned about it. It's just kind of weird that it would burn out like that, whereas when we put, remember, like a 1K resistor on there, it wouldn't even work. So that's kind of strange, but we're going to go ahead and try to proceed on with putting this box together. And we're going to put a bolt through this. And the bolt's just going to keep the box kind of held together a bit. It's definitely not going to be large enough. I'm going to need a pretty large bolt. I'm hoping I even have a bolt large enough for this. I might not. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and sew some stuff because I don't think I have a bolt large enough for that. I'm going to have to pick one up later. I'm just going to run this thread and then we're going to feed some stuffing through this bear to make its arm kind of go back to the way it was. Because it is a little misshapen right now. And we definitely don't want to sew it like that. So I'm running that thread, and the wire does a good job at actually holding it in there, so we don't need to hold the box in there in any way. I'm just going to take small amounts of stuffing and kind of stuff them through there. It looks pretty good to me. So let's now try to sew it in. So I'm just sewing this up a little bit so we can actually have this kind of put in here a bit. I'm not going to bore you guys with watching me sew. So essentially I'm just putting this in here just so you can kind of see how this is going to look. And then I'll do all the sewing and stuff off camera. We do, however, definitely need to replace that light. Kind of still has a cool aesthetic look to it, but it's, I don't know, just the fact that it doesn't work really bugs me. I mean, I think it's still kind of creepy, but since it's not working, It's not too great. I'm gonna have to think on this. Obviously, we are replacing the light, but I kind of want that look to it, if that makes sense. And then we don't want to replace it with the same light because then it's just going to burn out again if we don't do something different. And then if a 1K resistor is too much for it, I really don't know what we could do that's different. That's why LEDs are just so much better than bulbs. They have such a larger variance. So LEDs can put up with a lot less and a lot more. Seems that bulbs aren't that way. It's based on nothing scientific except for experience. So I may be dead wrong in that, but I think I'm right. So I actually have a couple different teddy bears and stuff from Psychotics Art Studios. And I'm going to show you that towards the end of this live stream. I'm going to show you. But we have quite a few of them that we'll probably be doing this season. So you'll be seeing more work from him and me. Okay. That broke, but it was a good time to call it. So check that out. Now, if this little dude was working up here, this would be slightly sinister, wouldn't it? Okay. Let's go ahead and check this one more time.
Ouch! Catch me softly!
Well, that sucks. Okay. So from here, we're going to go ahead and try to remove the head again. I'm going to try that by twisting it first. And like I said earlier, this really kind of mends with the plastic. So, earlier I thought, well, that's great. And this is kind of the issue with it. So we don't want to rip the plastic. If we do need to replace something, obviously that's very detrimental. So I'm just trying not to rip the plastic here. You can see it just shaped all through there. Which typically is a good thing, but not in this case. Now we just got to figure out how to get this out. So I'm thinking maybe if we pull it out, I'm probably going to break this light, but it's not working anyway, so
Game over!
it is what it is. So we break it, that's okay. You know what? Let's try this. To actually feed it back through. You can definitely see the hot glue did meld really, really well in here. And right now I'm just trying to heat this up a bit inside of here And then hopefully it'll let us push it back through. Because remember, we're not only getting rid of this LED, we're adding another one in. So we need that to be loosened up quite a bit inside of there. So we're getting there. Okay, I think that's good enough. I could probably pull it out.
Tap, shake, or toss to play.
Short-circuited something, didn't we? There we go. That's kind of cool. So if you can see that, the electrical tape actually kept the hot glue from going through there. So we might be able to use that to our advantage with the LED. So first and foremost, let's go ahead, we're going to peel this off here. That's going to give us a good bare wire. And then that one we could literally just cut off. So that's garbage. And we need a LED. I actually have an idea we can do with this as well. That'll still kind of give us that really gritty look.
Game over.
So we're going to go again with the fast fading RGB LEDs. But for this, I'm really hoping we can put together some type of LED holder, or if I have one, we could just use it. I'll check it. We totally have another one of these. Too bad we can't figure out how to get it to work, but yep. Well, you know what? Let's try something. We're going to play around with some LEDs and this bulb. I would really love to get the bulb to work. It's not working for some weird reason. So, well, I mean, it is working, but obviously we saw it burn out, which isn't ideal at all. And I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we could put some type of resistor on it. Okay, so that resistor's too much. See, that's crazy to me because that's only a 2.1K resistor. This is a 10 ohm resistor. So if this doesn't work, I don't know what is going on. I don't think that one was touching. Kind of curious if maybe we had this backwards. Well, it works backwards, so possibly. Okay, so that works with the resistor on the other side, so that's a game changer. Let's go ahead and try a couple more resistors here. So this one will probably be good.
shake, or toss to play.
So the 10 ohm seems to work, but let's go back to something else here. So 33K. Imagine if 2K isn't working, this isn't going to work, but I'm just kind of curious if it does.
Tap, shake, or toss to play.
Nope, nothing. Yeah, so this is kind of annoying, getting all this together. Not really understanding what's going on here.
Tap, shake, or toss to play.
Sometimes a fun part about circuit bending, which is kind of the experimentation,
Tap, shake, or
can also
toss
be
to
a bit
play.
annoying as well. But I always thought that if I got somewhat educated into how all this works, then it would kind of take the fun out of it. And you know, there are certain things that I did look into. Most of the basic stuff I know, and it just kind of from experience, but I would hate to do this as a job. And I don't mean circuit bending in general, I just mean electronics. Because I feel like it would take a lot of the fun out of it. And also knowing a lot of the stuff that is going on here, I also feel like would really take the fun out of it. So the experimentation of it is just, that's the fun part for me. But also, it can be a bit frustrating as well. Okay, well, I think we're going to pass on this just because I can't really figure out a way to get it.
Game over.
Appropriate sound. So, I can't figure out a way to really hook a resistor up, and I don't want to do the same exact thing we just did, whereas we hooked it up and then it just died. So, I think I'm going to go elsewhere and try to find some type of LED holder. Now, we know it did actually hold it in short term, which if you were doing something very short term like that, I could see that being a very plausible thing to do, is just hook that light in there. But we actually want it for multiple different videos, and we obviously want it to last a really long time. So yeah, if you just wanted to get a couple pictures, then that's probably the way to go, because it's a super cool looking LED, but not for us today. All right. So I do think I found a solution to our problem, though. Although it's going to be weird. Give me 1 second. All right. LED holder. So that's going to look really, really nice. And I don't want to, well, I don't know, maybe another color changing LED wouldn't be bad. I was thinking either that or red. I don't think another color changing would look too bad. Now for this, we had a resistor on the other one, so we're going to put a resistor on this one as well. I think I'm just going to go something like 100K, if it can handle it. If it can handle 100K and still come on, that's what we're going with. Let's check which side works here. So that's good. And the 100K is too much. So what else do we have? 33K. I think is this one right here as well, because I just pulled one of those off. Oh, I'm falling victim to the thing again, because I don't know what just happened with that. Yeah, here it is. I'm telling you, man, I put anything down on this table, it's lost, but it looks absolutely great. So that is where we are at. All right, so 33K makes it come on, but it's just super, super light. So you can see it, it's kind of hard to hold these on. It's insanely light. So realistically, we're looking for like a 10K. I think I have somewhere here. I have a 1K, 333 ohm. 10 ohm, 2.4. Let's try this. I think these are 10Ks, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we're good there. And that's fast fading as well, so that's going to be quite a bit different than the other one. So good deal. Oh, I totally just messed this up. So this backing has a thing where you actually put the LED through it, so it's kind of cool. A lot of times I never use these. This time I think I'm going to, even though I totally just put all this stuff on without using it. We're going to take this off and then we're going to try to put this back on. Just because since we're dealing with so much hot glue and stuff, I don't want there to be a point where this is going to drop down and it's going to fall into the doll's head and then we just not notice it and, you know, go on with our stuff. So we're going to try to use this if possible. That one's fine. Okay. So these are super cool. I'm also going to cut these just to make it a little bit easier to feed them through. All right, so you feed it through just like that, and I'm going to bend them to the side. And I don't know which one is which. We'll figure that out. I hate how that doll head is actually ripping apart there. I think it's mostly due to our hot glue. It's kind of torn up looking as is, though, so it's not super bad. Definitely needs resoldered. Okay, just to add to the looks of this, this looks very, very pristine and really nice. So we're going to cut around it. It's going to make us look a little more beat up here, and I'm not going to take too much. So that looks better.
Game over.
Maybe take some sandpaper or something a little bit later and really touch that up. It's looking better. Let's try this. Totally not working. All right, maybe working a little bit. Thank you. All right, so that's pretty cool. All right, now we just got to figure out what we did with the LED on the table. It's kind of fun because my live streams are kind of like finding Waldo at this point. I don't know what we did with it. There we go. Just under stuff. All right. So testing out which side here is going to be coming on. So there we go. I don't need all this slack here.
Tap, shake, or toss to play.
So that should be good. We just got to electrical tape in it and obviously solder it. Then you'll kind of see where the LED holder kind of comes in here.
Game over.
So kind of funny. I used to use LED holders a lot more. And this is the part I always messed up with. I actually always used to put it on the LED and then try to feed it through, but obviously you can't do that. With the LED holders, typically they have nuts on the back of these, which this one did, but I took it off because we don't really need it for this one. But they go through this way. So it's a bit different than your typical, things you're going to be working with as far as circuit bending. But they do have a place. I mean, they definitely have a certain look to them. I think it's a little more professional in some instruments. You see, I don't really use them on a lot of my instruments just because I don't really like that shiny look anymore. I used to like it a lot, just more silver the better. I really grew away from that. For some weird reason, it's just kind of not too appealing to me anymore. And that's not hating on anybody that actually uses, LED holders. They're definitely better than just sticking an LED in there, but at this point in time, I just go hot glue. kind of found success in that. So it's going to be really weird trying to get this LED in there through all this hot glue. There we go. That worked beautifully. All right, I need to drop more hot glue down inside of here now. Should be good there. Just put it back on. We're gonna hold this one. So I'm just holding it till it kind of dries and then lets me let go of it in a way. So I think we add some acrylic paint to that, it'll look really, really nice. All right, cool. So that is all set up. Now we no longer have our burnt out LED. We still have that kind of creepy doctor look. And it popped off. Yeah, I feel like it's not going to stick that much, so let's go ahead and put a little bit more through here. Loosen all that up. Yeah, that looks good. Yes, I'm thinking we add acrylic paint, just some black around here. I think it'll look really phenomenal. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be anchoring this doll into the top of the bear's head. I'm going to go ahead and feed a little bit of stuffing through here, because if you remember in the beginning we did take some stuffing out. Now's our time to go ahead and kind of replace that. So we no longer need to feed wires through. That seems to be holding right there. Now on my instruments, I like super anchor stuff in. I've only done this a couple times. Teletubbies being the first time I actually did it. Putting other dolls inside of, larger dolls. The second time that the most recent time I can remember doing it was the Dandy Caterpillar. So when you do this type of stuff, I think it helps out like a lot to really anchor in. And I mean, just do a heavy amount of sewing on the actual things. I think that, it's going to give it a lot more integrity. And I think you're going to be better off in the long run. Because I've never had an instance where I've had anything ripped off of there. Which is really what we're looking for. We're looking for it to almost be one. So here, I'm trying to get a good grip with the back of his head. We're going to feed it through the leg. There we go. And these hook needles, they come in real handy. So that should work for our start. I'm very wasteful with thread. Okay, so that seems good. We now have to just try to go ahead and hit that hole in the leg multiple times. And this is where it really helps. So if you remember earlier when I said that, you don't want it to compromise your wires, but at the same time you want the hole large enough that it's going to be easy to put the thread through. This is why. So pretty much we're doing this blindly at this point. So this one's going to be a little bit better because we can actually pull it up, see where we're at, and we can feed it through accordingly. Let me check here. But the other one is going to be blind at this point. So we're not going to be able to see where we're feeding this through. So we go. And that works. Then we're just going to keep repeating this process. I'm just going to feed it through, and yeah. Looks like our thread came off here. It's getting there. I actually planned on this being a little bit lower, but we still kind of got the patch there and stuff, so that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. I think it looks pretty good. Then we're obviously going to be adding a lot more as far as looks. Just minor touch-ups and stuff, like acrylic paint, and probably going to do some fake blood or something around the top of the doll. I think it would look kind of nice. It's So ever since we fed that fast fading RGB LED in here, it seems like the slow fading just kind of favors all the blue shades. It's keeping like blue, green. It's kind of strange. We're okay with that. We wanted them to be different.
Life's full of no's.
So I'm going to finish up this thread and then I'm going to show you some of the Psychotic Art Studio stuff that I have in stock that we should be doing here pretty soon. And then we'll bolt this through. Then I'll call that a day. I mean, I won't really call it a day, but we'll call it a day as live streaming goes. And then I'll finish all this up off of screen and you'll see it in the performance video. All right, one more knot. Okay, so that is that for now. And then as you can kind of see, it does hold in there really, really well. And I'm not done sewing it. I am going to sew it quite a bit more. Put these back in here. But like I said, I'm going to be doing that off camera. It's not something I'm going to be doing on live stream because that would just be me sewing for hours and hours. I'm sure you'd really love to do that, but I also like watching TV while I sew, so, you know, not going to be doing that on live stream. But I'm going to go ahead and grab some other stuff from Psychotic Art Studios that we should be doing here pretty soon. And then we're going to run a bolt through here, if I can find one real quick. And then once that's done, we're out for the day. But give me 1 second. Let me go grab some other stuff. All right. So we have this. Just a super cool bear. You can kind of see how he did the mouth there. It's absolutely insane. Has claws over here. Claws over here. And it's so fluffy. So nice. His work is always insanely impressive to me. It's creepy in absolutely all the right ways. So there's that. And then there's this rabbit right here. So it's really, really cool how he did this. You can actually see some thread over here. He actually ran some pins through there. Mouth is pretty similar. But absolutely cool. So he does phenomenal work. Definitely check his work out. You can find a lot of videos that I've actually did with him. But for sure, check his work out if you haven't already. So now I have this bolt right here, which should run through there. However, I'm not sure if I have a nut that fits it, which I'm hoping that I do. And I do. All right, so I'm not super worried about opening this up in any way. We're just going to actually drill through it and then hit both sides so we can pull this together. So that's our game plan on this one. And for this, I'm going to go and turn this off. Kind of save it on battery. Looks like if we go all the way through with this, we should be good. Trying to figure out where exactly I want to do this at. Kind of wanted it to go with the writing as well. Yeah, we're going to do it right over the A right here. Okay, so we should be good. We just got to feed it through, and then we'll have a bolt that is holding it together. Giving it a little bit more security. And the reason I fed it through this way is because I don't really want that bolt sticking out the front. So we're feeding it through the back. And don't worry too much about actually tightening this up to any extreme intent. Just going to be fine once we tighten it up just a tiny bit. Just push this back on. That looks good from the front. I'm almost wondering if we should add another one, but yeah, maybe right there. Well, actually, to me, it really looks good. I kind of like that look. Just not really too much going on here, and it's very, very secure now that we put that bolt through.
Youch! Catch me softly!
So I'm just going to stuff the rest of the stuffing back in here. Stuffing's rather amazing how it just condenses. There's so much of it out, and then you just shove it in there and it condenses it. Okay, so it should be good right there. That's almost the final product. Obviously, there's a little bit more stuff to do. And I just kind of want to show you what I'm talking about as far as zippers. So this is a zipper. And typically I cut these short. So what I mean by I cut them short is I sew down here. If you take the thread and you just switch it over back and forth many, many times, you can actually cut the rest of the zipper off. Now what I do is I just very simply sew the zipper back here. So it'd be like somewhere around like right here. That way somebody could just zip down. They can open it up. They can replace batteries, turn it on, whatever they need to do. And they don't have to reopen the instrument back up. So there we are. So you'll see this in the performance video here pretty soon. And I'm going to be adding some acrylic to it and doing a couple more things, but it's not going to look super different from this final product. Let's go ahead and play around with it a bit.
Tap, shake, or tap. Football. Why you have such
So it's still kind of crashy a bit with that
tap, shake.
really chaotic thing. Overall, I think it's a really successful
Shake
instrument. It's
or
nice.
toss to play. Hut, hut. Hike. Go
We got a
long,
lot of
hut
really
out,
weird bends on
huddle
it.
up. Omo. Red. Football, football. Why?
The bends are chaotic and it really fits the feel of it.
Blue 42.
Okay, so with that, I just want to thank you guys for watching, especially if you tuned in both today and tomorrow. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. You guys are absolutely awesome. I want you guys to have a fantastic weekend. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. So a great Sunday. And have fun today. Go do something nice for somebody. Do something awesome. Do something positive. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I will see you later. Thank you.